Good day, campers. Today we are going to talk about book 2 of Jon Fosse Septology. I is Another, which is parts 3 to 5. But if you want to find out about parts 1 to 2, then you should check out my review of The Other Name, which I will link down below. Similar to the first book, I is Another doesn't really have that much of a plot per se. If you want to know what really happens, Ursula, oh yeah, I have to tell you this. I asked Silja, who is Norwegian, how to pronounce these names, and in the first video I got them completely wrong. Now I know the pronunciations, I'm still doing it wrong, but they're a bit more like the actual pronunciations. I'm not Norwegian, give me a little leeway here. Ursula wakes up after...
Let's try it again. Asle.
Yes, he wakes up from a nap and his neighbour Usleik comes over because annually on Christmas he is gifted one of Ursula's paintings. Now the one that Usleik really wants is the St. Andrew cross, which starts off every single part of Septology. It is a canvas with one brown line and one purple line. Now Ursula doesn't feel as though it's finished. Here Fosse does talk about, well, when does art become finished? Is it when the artist says so? Is it when the art says so? Or is it when we, the people who are viewing it, say so? Ursula really wants this painting. And thinking of paintings, we're going to spend a lot of time with paintings. Ursula has to send paintings off to the gallery. He'll then come back home, have a series of naps, and then has a dinner with Ursula. That's really the plot of this, which doesn't make for riveting content. I know what all you contemporary peeps like. We want action, we want fast pace. Fosse has said himself that you shouldn't really read his books for plot. Unlike The Other Name, I is Another is a lot more linear in its storytelling. This is only set over Wednesday and Thursday, where The Other Name, well, I don't even know what's happening there sometimes. But like the first book, Ursula's almost like immediate transitions between his past and reminiscing and nostalgia and recounting his moments and reliving his own life is really all encompassing, and everything will always come back to art, to painting, and to why Ursula doesn't really feel as though he wants to continue. He feels as though everything is coming to a natural stop, be that in his career, be that also within his age. All of this naturally coincides with the suicide of his love, Alice. Ursula, within his art and how he explores art and what he's tried to do with art, is account for his relationship with God. Art and religion are at the forefront of this septology, and it is predominant within I is Another. One of the passages about belief and what it means to believe and how that is paralleled, juxtaposed, shown in harmony with the subjectivity of art. You don't have to be a theist to enjoy these passages. They work equally for agnosticism and atheism. It's about that relationship and why that does or does not form. With Ursula's relationship to God, we have to understand how he's got to where he has in his belief, while also simultaneously understanding the journey of where he's got to become an artist, and why has he moved towards abstraction, more expressive works. So the landscapes, the fjords, the beauty that he used to capture, the more realistic, something that his parents wanted him to do. Why has he now moved to paintings of just 2 lines? Eager viewers might be able to pinpoint another author who has done this, and knowing that Fosse is Norwegian, Knausgaard has to come up. And the similarities between my struggle and Septology are... It's not a coincidence. Surely it's not a coincidence. Knausgaard and also Fosse's protagonist are both in bands, and they both leave because they're both bad at playing guitar. Both go to a prestigious school. Both want to become an artist. Both go against their parents' wishes. Again, it's coincidence? I think not. It's almost like they're doppelgangers. But let's talk about the doppelganger, Ursula's doppelganger, who's also called Ursula. Within Eyes Another, they meet. And this is where my mind broke a little bit. Within the first part, it felt as though Ursula was narrating the other Ursula's life. But that is not the case. We know nothing about the namesake. We know that he's currently in hospital. We know that he's a drunk. We know that he has a dog called Bragi, who the other Ursula, now that he's in hospital, is looking after. But by gosh, there is so little distinguishing information of the two Ursulas, who are both artists, who both went to the same school, who both look like, who both speak alike. And this use of he, the namesake Ursula, try and keep track of who is a nightmare. Needed a cup of coffee for those few pages. But what is the point of this? Well, it feels as though there's going to be some tension, there's going to be some drama, there's going to be some shenanigans, but none of that happens. Fosse will happily play with your notions of what you expect the novel to do and how he won't give you that. Because Fosse knows that most of us are boring. Most of us don't do anything that spectacular. We might have some instances, we might have some moments, we might have some great stories to tell, but for most of it, nothing really happens. There's nothing much to speak about, there's nothing much to say. And he'll slow this book down, like he does with his prose. He will ruminate on the boring. He will discuss the mundane. For what purpose? Well, for Ursula, he can't get over his love's death. He can't move on. He's never been able to move on. He even keeps a chair at the dining table that no one else is allowed to sit in. Life and death for Ursula are blurred. They're muddy. They're murky. There's no real separation between the two. He even speaks to Alice. He even admits to speaking to the dead. She's as much alive within this story as the incapacitated namesake within the hospital. Septology, as it stands, is not a fast-paced endurance test. You're not going to get instant gratification for reading this. But sometimes patience is a virtue. And sometimes you just have to sit and watch the clouds go by. And for me, this is a 9 out of 10.